Vince, we're both hurting today.
Yeah.
So before we talk about our teams, let's get some scores.
Yeah.
Well, before we get the scores in, just want to let everyone know you are listening to the SVT podcast. Subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell to get alerts when we go live. Follow us on Instagram and Threads.
It really helps us out. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thanks for getting that in. Important to hit that.
And we are legal, as they say on the radio.
We are legal on the radio. All right. So for the main slate on Sunday, we're going to talk about our team specifically, but I'm just going to read off all the scores right now. Eagles over the Saints, 15-12. Broncos over the Buccaneers in a shocker, 26-7. The Steelers beat the Chargers, 20-10. The Vikings are for real. They beat Houston, 34-7. Packers over the Titans, 30-14. The Colts beat the Bears, 21-16. The Giants turned the Browns into fraudulent people like I thought they were, 21-15. Panthers beat the Raiders, 36-22. Seahawks over the Dolphins, 24-3. Ravens over the Cowboys, 28-25, although the Ravens sure tried like hell to give them the win. The Lions beat the Cardinals 20-13, and the Rams beat the Niners 27-24. For your primetime games, the Jets on Thursday night beat the Patriots 24-3. Sunday night football had Kansas City squeaking by Atlanta 22-17. And then Monday night football right now, both games are at commercial, but the Jaguars and the Bills started at 4:30 Pacific time, and the Commanders at the Bengals just started about 20 minutes ago. Last I saw, the Bills were up about like 20-6 or 20-3 or something like that. And Bengals.
Trevor Lawrence just threw a pick. So
okay. So here's the scores. So it's 20-3. Buffalo is on top of Jacksonville, and then it's 7-7 Washington versus Cincinnati. So so we got some dogfights. We got some fantasy football implications in both of these games too. So that's a lot of fun. All right. So there's your score update. I guess who wants to go first? Do we let Tyler go first since he's all in a chipper mood about his boys? Let's do that. Go ahead, bud. Go ahead.
Well, before I jump into my Sunday, I did have someone ask me what my reaction was if I had brought it up on the podcast last Monday, and I did not because obviously we were filming and I didn't get to watch the game till after we were done with the podcast. But to express my feelings about week 2 going into week 3, I was very frustrated. I felt that the world was coming to an end as I know it of this offense that I knew to be electric just 2 years ago. I think Vic Fangio's defense to me was questionable. We had no pressures, no sacks. We let Kirk look like he was QB number 1 and MVP of the league. And I was very frustrated with that. Our offense looked stale pretty much the whole entire game, and we deserved to lose that game, and we did. Now, with that being said, going into week 3, I didn't really have the highest hopes going against the team that had scored 80 points in 2 games. They were hot. The Saints are a hot team, and we were going to New Orleans on top of that. So, look, I still think that there's some questionable calls by Nick Sirianni. You take the 2 field goals before the half, then you're up by 6. This game isn't a dogfight that you have to win in the last 2 minutes of a game. And that was kind of the thing against Atlanta too, was that you take the field goals, you're up by 6. Now you don't have to try and stress and worry after you kick that field goal at the end of the game. Then it puts you up by 9. Who cares if they score a touchdown, with the Falcons? So there's some questionable calls that our head coach does. I know his MO is to go for it on fourth almost every play, but sometimes, man, just take the points that are given you. It's there. We have one of the best kickers in the league. He had 2 chip shots, and the one kick you make him do was a 51-yard field goal that he obviously misses way right. There's some things that just need to be worked out on that retrospect. But Vic Fangio has since kind of changed his tune a little bit. He went into a Bear 5 defense, umbrella cover defense that he's known for. But that Bear 5 defense did bring out some great pressure. Jalen Carter was all world. I believe if he's not defensive player of the week this week, I don't know who will be. He was absolutely everywhere. There was some questionable tackles during that game, and I put it on the list here, and I'll just bring it out right now. Devontae Smith goes out with a concussion. I say it's a dirty hit from Christian Boyd because he came full speed, and they say he hit his back, but man, he was crowning. I mean, he had that helmet out, and he was trying to take him out. He already had 3 guys on him. There was no need to do that. If anything, I do believe that's more on the refs below that dead, so that doesn't happen. But the one that's really questionable, on top of that, the Devontae Smith, so the Christian Boyd thing, this is where I think it's dirty. He hits Devontae Smith, knocks him out, and as he gets up, he spits on him.
Ooh.
Absolutely unquestionable. I hope the officials see that. I hope NFL sees that, fines him, suspends him, whatever they got to do. That's the one that really pissed me off about that. The Darius Slay incident, he got caught being blocked by Trevor Penning, the offensive lineman for the Saints. The play's done, but Penning is still holding on to Slay and runs Slay into the Saints bench, literally runs him into it and almost breaks his leg. So I think that's also very dirty. To me, it just brought up things of Saints pass. Saints going to just Saints, Bountygate will stick over their heads. I don't care if it was 10 years ago. You don't show any reason that you've changed. Zebras don't lose their stripes. The last thing that was brought up was that Lane Johnson, our all-world guard, had a concussion. He's out. I don't know if he really had a concussion. When they announced, they said he was sick coming into the game, and then when he left, he was throwing up everywhere. So I don't know if he more or less had a concussion, then he's just dealing with a really bad flu, and they just did it as a concussion protocol just to get him out of the game. I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't just say he has a flu and won't come back, but I fully expect Lane Johnson to recover and be back next week. Devontae Smith, a little questionable. We'll see if he comes back, but all in all, man, I'm happy to get the win. I need to up my Bayer heart medication, but I'll take it, man. 2-1 is better than being 1-2 at this point for me. And the Cowboys lost too, so that's also another win for me. So,
yeah, Penning has a history of playing after the whistle.
Yeah, a little too hard, buddy.
And you could see right after that, his fellow O linemen were chirping at him. So I think he was kind of on an island because the play is dead, man. Like now you're hurting your team. That was a terrible play on him.
Yep. So Rochambeau for you boys.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'll go. Let's as I was watching the game at the very end, I was thinking about the cinematic masterpiece, The Wedding Singer, where Robbie is singing the song, "Somebody Kill Me, Please." Yeah, that was basically me at the end of that. That was not fun at all to watch at the end. Like, you're up 14 at 2 different points, and I knew it was not going to be quite as easy when, obviously Christian McCaffrey hasn't been there the whole season yet. But then you lose Debo, and then you lose Kittle to a late hamstring injury during the week. As soon as that news broke, I think that was Thursday, maybe even Friday. When that news broke, I was like, "Oh Lord, this might be a little bit tougher." Juwan Jennings had a hell of a day. He scored every touchdown, and that's not an exaggeration. There were 3 touchdowns. He got all 3 of them. So that's obviously a bright spot. I feel like though that the team was dropping a lot of passes. Ronnie Bell especially. He's somebody that he barely made the roster, man. Like, he was the last wide receiver in. And when you're the last guy in, you can't afford to keep dropping passes. I think the team had something like 6 drops, and Brock Purdy only had 7, I think 8 or 9 incompletions. So and Brock was like doing the work. I mean, you can only put the ball in the guy's hands so many times, right? I mean, that last drop though in the 4th quarter, that would have kept the drive going, and then ended up that drop ended up leading to the field goal attempt that was missed, and then the Rams ended up tying the game, and then you punt the ball later after another drop, and it's frustrating because you had the win. There was no excuse. That was wrapped up. Even with the Moody missed field goal, you still had every opportunity to close this game out. And you couldn't do it. So you're 1-2 right now. This is starting to feel with the injuries that I'm going to get to in a second. This is starting to feel a little 2020-ish for me. Because that was the year after the Super Bowl, the loss to the Chiefs. I mean, it rhymes a little bit. History rhymes like a motherfucker, doesn't it? You get all these injuries, and it's Brandon Ayuk. He held out of camp the entire year, off season because of the whole contract thing. He has not looked good at all, and I think he probably could have used some of those camp reps. And this is almost just another case like that the front offices can look to and saying, no, we're not going to negotiate with you or whatever. Like, why are we going to pay you the money? Because you're not going to perform those first few weeks anyway. It also could be a case to try to get it done before camp starts, so it kind of goes both ways there a little bit. I
think the parity of the situation is that the Eagles, I think we're almost in a similar situation last week compared to what you were dealing with. But I think the glaring difference is that I do think the West is a little bit tougher than we maybe anticipated. I know the Cardinals didn't show up, but
right. No,
I mean everyone looks pretty solid. Where the East over here is, Cowboys.
Yeah. So I don't know that the Niners are going to win the 1 seed. Obviously, like I had predicted. But I did that because that's my team. Of course, I'm going to do it.
Sure.
Until they give me a reason not to. And they're starting to give me a reason not to a little bit. CMC went to Germany to see a specialist for his Achilles injury. That was announced earlier today by Kyle Shanahan. So he went over the weekend to do that. So that's a bit scary.
That's terrifying, man. I feel like the next news is going to be he's going to get the surgery.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Kobe Bryant surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just at least Jordan Mason has looked pretty damn good in replacement, but like obviously he's no CMC. Nobody's CMC. Like Christian McCaffrey is a special talent, and not having him there is a detriment. There's no two ways about it. It doesn't matter who his replacement is, and Jordan Mason has done a hell of a job so far, but he's just he can't do like all the things that CMC does. So sure. We're missing him, and I hope that he's able to come back from this. I'm gonna wait and see what what the specialist in Germany has to say before I try to like get CMC on the cheap, from some of my other leagues. But I'm really worried now. Javon Hargrave had probably his best game of the year, and now he's done for the year probably for a torn triceps injury. So I hate that. And then Brock Purdy had an MRI on his back, and he's listed as day-to-day right now. So these injuries are starting to pile up, and I'm not feeling good, especially when your starting quarterback has a back issue. Like we saw, like Stafford had that problem, a couple years ago, and it's just if Brock Purdy's not able to go, I'm really worried. And like I said, this is giving me echoes of 2020 so far. Like injuries are really mounting up.
Who is the 49ers backup right now?
The backup quarterback?
So if Brock can't go, who is it?
Is it the Pastronaut? I don't even know. Like I haven't looked at the depth chart. It's the Pastronaut. Joshua Dobbs.
Oh wow.
So I love that for us. This is just I'm worried, man. I'm like, this is like it's scary. I don't like it. So Joshua Dobbs, and then Brandon Allen is your third string quarterback. It looks like they got somebody on the practice squad. Benkert. He's here in a picture.
Oh, I know that kid.
Benkert, yeah.
He was he's really famous on YouTube because he does a lot of Madden football games, but he was already a 49ers backup QB, a Packers backup QB, and I think he backed up somewhere else. So he's familiar with Shanahan's system. The
picture of him is actually in a Packers uniform, even though he's currently on the Niners roster. I would assume in practice squad. But yeah, so I am genuinely worried right now. This is I'm not hitting the panic button, but I know where the panic button is. And I'm keeping my one eye on it.
And who do they play against next week?
So I believe they have the Patriots next week. So that's, like that's not a great team, but they do play hard. So it's not going to be completely easy. But this is not awesome. The defense is good, at least in New England. The offense is shit, but
I don't mean to steer it my way, but we talked about it last week. Is you cannot look past teams, and you cannot look past the New England Patriots, because before you know it, they just punched you in the mouth.
Yep,
and you're 1-3 or whatever.
Yeah, the Rams were like the get right game for Shanahan. I think this is only the 49ers, second time.
Other than the playoff game.
Loss. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that playoff game.
Yeah.
Shanahan's owned them in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is only his second regular season loss to the Rams. Basically since Sean McVay took over, so this is this was probably the wake up call, for the Hall of Fame talent level players that we have, like Fred Warner and Tenelo Hufanga and Trent Williams too. Like, he took a couple of penalties. He didn't look too great. He had some issues as well. Just like overall, the whole team needed a wake up call, I believe. And I guess thanks Levi South for giving it to us. So we'll see. It's it is what it is. That stadium was 70% Niners fans. That's Levi South, but
yeah.
Whose house? Niners house. Ignore the signs.
Well, now we get to come down this other dark and disastrous road.
Oh my God. Guys, going in Friday night, I felt like got a good chance. You're at home. And then Sunday morning, I woke up, my eyes flicker, the sunlight coming through the window and the curtains. And I'm like, oh yeah, football today. And I just did not feel it. I woke up in my bones and I knew. And here's the reason why. When the Raiders, the destiny around the Raiders, right? Your destiny was in your own hands, and the Raiders position for 20 plus years. Just last year, right? The Rams. The Rams don't even have a quarterback. Baker Mayfield gets off the airplane, shows up, doesn't even practice, and kicks your butt. So it's just constant. You got your destiny within your hands. You can control what happens. And you didn't even show up to your own home opener. You didn't show up. Opening drive, you get punched in the mouth. Okay, offense, you march down the field, you tie it at 7. And then you give it right back up. So this game, offense, defense, showed they got nothing to hang their hat on after that game. The offensive line is broken. You can't pass the ball. You can't run. I think your defense was just so overextended from the previous games that they were just running on empty. They never had a chance. Aiden O'Connell passed towards the end of the game in garbage time. So the game was further away than what the score indicates. And to lose like that to a Carolina team, and we know that teams get a bump when they change head coaches. They get a bump if they go to their backup quarterback. I fully expect Carolina to descend next game, and they're going to be garbage again. You had one job to do and win this game, and the rest of the season was in your control. After the game, you hear Antonio made business decisions, and we're going to make business decisions. What does that mean? Because he's not naming players. I think what it means is Luke Getsy, week 4, is already on the hot seat, because the one thing that you were doing well, Gardner Minshew threw some interceptions, but you were able to move the ball via the pass. Your offensive line cannot block whatsoever. So that was the one thing they had going for them, was passing the ball. They didn't do that. I think ultimately this whole business decision comment is about players showing up at the home opener, not really willing, eager to play. It looked like they had no interest in being there. So I think what Antonio Pierce is talking about is these guys quit at the open whistle and never woke up. What does that mean long term? I see some guys get benched. I think you'll see some guys get cut. And I think you're going to see that throughout the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Getsy loses his job this season. It just does not look anything remote close to what a professional team should look like. The offensive line was good last year. They look broken, and it's a majority of the same players coming back, and it just looks broken.
I got a quick question about that. With the departure of Josh Jacobs, is it possible that he made the offensive line look a little bit better just by being an exceptional talent? And then you got Zamir White, who is mid, who can't do the things that Josh Jacobs does, and maybe they're just getting exposed more, or is it just
I think it's a little bit of both. They did change the scheme, so the blocking scheme is different. Josh Jacobs is a totally different runner.
Right.
Jacobs he's a power runner. He can get outside. He's a 3-down back. But he can also cut. Zamir White he's not going to do a whole lot of cutting. He's a downhill runner. Once he gets past the line, he's running guys over. He's not cutting. He's not shaking. He's not doing any moves. So they're not really comparable running backs.
Okay.
Miller's looked like absolute dog shit in these past 3 games.
I mean, Colton Miller looks awful.
Yeah,
absolutely awful. And I know he missed all of offseason, all of preseason, due to surgery, and it's a shoulder surgery. So could explain a lot. There's a lot of rust, but the offensive line just does not look like a quality unit whatsoever. And offensively, that's where it starts. It always starts at the line, especially when you want to be a team that's physical. I think it's kind of the same. You got a game next week at home. You kind of got to get yourself up, motivated, and win the game. When the game is necessary, you can go 1-3 in your first 4 games. We know you go 1-2, 1-3, after the first quarter of the season, your odds of even having a chance at the playoffs is drastically cut. I thought this team would be a lot more competitive. I thought the days of not showing up to play football were potentially behind this team, and that's clearly not the case because it happened yesterday. I don't know what it is, guys. I've never seen a team year after year have not just one games of not getting off the plane, not waking up. Like, name another franchise that that does this when you can control your destiny. Even teams run into an accidental good year where they're just dominating. Mm-hmm. We haven't even been an accident. Like, I don't know what it is. You got a new stadium. You got new locker rooms. Everything is brand new, but it's the same stink. Like, you can't wash it off. Mark Davis, I'm not sitting here saying he's like the greatest owner ever, but he got you the stadium. You got all the new stuff. Anytime a head coach or GM he's hired, he gives them whatever they want. He's not a football guy. He lets the football people run it. And I don't want to go back and revisit, but like the John Gruden thing, who the hell saw that happening? Like, maybe you could say we thought John Gruden was going to get fired, but how he got fired, that was out of left field. Then you go to McDummy, and that was historically bad. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm baffled about what it is. And where do you go? Pick yourself up, fight hard. Hopefully you go 2-2 and you go from there. But not really anything positive to hang your hat on after this week. That was ugly.